Hello, I'm Victor Cazzetto, and I want to introduce you to Vitogenix and also a bit to myself. So this is my website, and on the website you'll find blog posts once a week or so, and you can sign up for my newsletter or go to my YouTube channel, etc. And this particular video, I want to show you an interview that was conducted by Hawthorn University. It's part of their All About Alumni program, and they invited me to present and kind of explain to you how and why I became a nutritionist. And so if you're interested, continue watching and you'll see them interview me. And it's listening. You won't see my face, but you'll see my presentation. And you'll hear me answer as Paul asks questions. And my thanks to Paul and Hawthorn University.
About Alumni. I'm the Director of Online Events here at Hawthorn University, and I'm just delighted that you've tuned in for our first All About Alumni of 2019. I just want to reflect for a minute of what a brilliant 2018 year of Hawthorn University graduate presentations we had, and I sure hope you'll visit our website and view their presentations too. You'll be able to find them under archived webinars. And today, I have the pleasure of interviewing Victor Cazzetto, and you'll have the opportunity to ask him questions directly at the end of the presentation. And, you know, as we get into learning more about Victor's road to wellness, we're going to hear how and why he blends the old and the new in healing. And Victor will explain why traditional nutrition is the foundation for his holistic approach, and how 21st century science continues to reveal the wisdom of our ancestors. So from quantum physics to Eastern traditions, today we see how his decades-long journey finally led him to become a nutritionist with a holistic approach. So, hello, Victor.
Hello, Paula. Thank you very much for that wonderful introduction.
Absolutely. It's really a pleasure to have you here. I'm excited to be together. It's really a pleasure to be able to introduce you and have you share your postgraduate experiences. So let me give a little background of Victor. He's a computer scientist and a nutritionist. I want to reverse that. You know, I want to say Victor's a nutritionist and a computer scientist, having graduated summa cum laude from the Wise Traditions Nutrition program here at Hawthorn University. He started pursuing a wellness career when he found that mainstream education and the medical establishment disagreed with his own research and beliefs. He's passionate about the teaching and efforts of Weston A. Price Foundation, and he's grateful to Hawthorn for providing formal education on the work of Dr. Price and the holistic and ancestral knowledge. Victor's lived and worked overseas with his own IT business for over 20 years, and now he's focusing on coaching and mentoring for wellness with global partners through his Vitogenix website. He's won various technical awards, including the U.S. Air Force Award for Best Technician in the World. I mean, it's like, I need to be the best in the whole world. That's really impressive, Victor.
It does sound absurd, doesn't it?
You know, you're the top. So, so there's a combined field here of computers, communications, and electronics, and he now uses his IT skills to support his wellness efforts. So he spends his time now living between Japan, Costa Rica, and the U.S., and currently in Japan right now. So we're crossing continents here to talk, and time zones and everything. So I'm really pleased you woke up so early for us, Victor, and join us so that we can share your story.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you again.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm so happy to be here.
We're happy to have you as a graduate and doing what you're doing. So I want you just to start out here and tell us what your story is and how did you end up as a Wise Traditions nutritionist?
Sure. It's a bit of a long story. It takes a couple of decades because it started when I was in my teens, and I'm not that young anymore, I guess. Well, I'm still young, but I'm in my 50s now, mid-50s. And early on, I had a passionate interest in Eastern philosophy and in quantum physics from my teenage years. And these things did not really agree with each other in my early research, but they both had, or both led me to a holistic view of everything. And then in later years, they kind of crossed over, which I might talk about a bit later on. So there are a lot of different philosophies and a lot of different people that influenced my thinking. And even in my late teens, I was already dreaming of opening a holistic health center. From an educational perspective, I had looked into things like psychoneuroimmunology, which was interesting to me. Ultimately, I went into IT because I had also started programming as a teenager, and I was completely ignorant of nutrition in those early years. So getting out of my teens, I had all these things in my mind, and then my 20s kind of ended up being a bit of a mess, as I really couldn't decide what I wanted to do. So as I started, getting to the point where I had to make career decisions, I bounced around a bit. I thought I wanted to be a physicist. I wanted to be a programmer, perhaps an engineer. I tried some different schools. And, again, I bounced around. I ended up working in a lab making computer chips. I did that for a few years while I was going to night school. And over a period of, until my mid-20s, I did a few different things. I kept reading books, always doing research. There were a lot of different people that influenced my thinking, most of them scientists. And then around 26 years old, I actually joined the Air Force. And that took me to Japan. And that went really well. That's where the awards came from that you mentioned at the end. And I was in the Air Force for about 5 years. And I got out, but I stayed in Japan. And then I even ended up teaching at the college that was at the military base there. And I enjoyed teaching. So that was really my first real experience with teaching, and I really loved that, but I felt I was too young to teach. And so I really put my energy into building my IT business from that point. Mm-hmm. So from my late 20s going into my 30s, the focus really became IT, and health and nutrition was just kind of not yet nutrition, but health things were still kind of a background hobby thing for me. A lot of alternative medicine and such.
For most of us in our 20s, it's not the highest thing on our radars as health. We're invincible. Nothing can happen. Right.
Exactly. You feel that way, and I felt that way too, right? So I thought I was healthy. I was strong, fit, active. I had always been into sports, playing baseball. I started judo when I was 10 years old, and so I continued off and on in various martial arts. So I was like everyone else. I had no major illnesses, no ailments, nothing to really push me hard in the direction to research more deeply. Mm-hmm. So I was like everyone else. I was bedridden once in a while with the flu, and it seemed normal to me. Some unfortunate things that did occur, which again I thought were normal, getting a bunch of fillings. Sure. When I was like when I was about 21 years old, it's the only time I ever had fillings, and I got like 6 of them. No big deal, right? We all feel this is a normal occurrence. Later on, I would learn that that's really not so normal. And then also in my late 20s, I had all 4 wisdom teeth extracted. Again, because it was a normal thing to do, and I had the opportunity to do it for free while I was in the Air Force. So I thought it was a good thing to do. Again, later on in life, I would learn, looking back, this was one of my big regrets, actually. So I did, and by the way, I wasn't having real difficulty with my wisdom teeth at the time. Mm-hmm. It was just a recommendation of the dentists. Right?
Well, given that you're identifying as a specific kind of, wise traditions nutritionist, maybe you want to describe that a little bit for people that are unfamiliar with wise traditions focus, and then why you regret having your wisdom teeth out now. I think those play together.
Yes, absolutely. So, right, throughout human history, we were not extracting our wisdom teeth, right? So, Humans, along with all other creatures in the world over a course of millions of years, have no problem fitting all of their teeth in their mouth, right? So we didn't have dentists 10,000 years ago or 100,000 years ago or a million years ago, and we didn't have these kinds of problems, right? So our teeth fit quite well in our mouth without trouble, and without cavities also. So these kinds of things, from when we look back historically, it becomes very obvious that, wow, why am I getting my teeth pulled out? And these were the kinds of things that I started to become aware of later on. So the other thing, I had been, even from my teenage years, I had been looking to the past. I had been looking for these wise traditions, traditional things, like Chinese herbs and all of these other ancient practices. Not all traditions are wise, so I happen to like this term wise traditions, and it so happens that Hawthorne provides this very specific program on to become a wise traditions nutritionist, which is connected directly to Dr. Weston Price, who again is also bringing up these wise traditions, traditions that have been proven to work, right? So they carry wisdom. Yeah, so it's kind of funny. I no longer have my wisdom teeth, but yes, but I did learn from it. So so at that point, again, other things that I wasn't aware of at that time when I took out my wisdom teeth, I had fillings. There's other things going on in the background with my health. My health is declining, and but I'm not aware of it at that time, right? Because I'm not yet really familiar with all of these things. Right? I think I'm healthy and strong.
Okay.
Right? So I'm still educating myself.
Well, you had indicated a little bit that your 20s and were quite a chaotic time for you, and
yes.
So it's but you're moving forward. You continued to move forward at that point, and so.
Yes. So then I'm moving into my 40s is when things really started to change, and I had a lot of new influences, so that opened my eyes even more to health. One, on the negative side, my father had a pretty bad stroke, right? So that made me look further into those things. And then I had a child, my daughter, when I was 40 years old. So this made me also become more aware, more interested in being more healthy and trying to keep my family healthy. And so one of the real eye-opening things, and one of the first big things for me, was actually colloidal silver and the power of silver. And you might think that this is not directly related to being a wise traditions nutritionist, but one of the things about silver was, again, I found thousands of years of history in its use from the Romans and the Greeks, etc. And now in modern times, it became much easier to use silver. And in researching more and more about the silver, it led me to other people that I learned from along the way. And it led me to the Beck protocol and Dr. Robert Beck, who was using electric medicine. And here again, electric medicine, I was able to trace back its use to wise traditions, if I want to use that again, where you go back thousands of years and people would use electric eels to try to cure arthritis in their feet. And so this was a long journey for me. And at that point, when I discovered these things, I was no longer getting ill. Now, I thought I was eating good. I really still had not discovered the secrets to good nutrition, but I was trying to eat good. But between the electric medicine and the colloidal silver, it had a really big impact on my life. And I would like to say it was because of my diet that I never got sick anymore, but my diet was not that great yet. And my daughter, who is now in junior high school, 14 years old, she has never missed a day of school. And this I have to credit to both the nutrition and to colloidal silver.
All right.
So those were big discoveries for me back then, and they also led me to meeting other people that I still work with now, where I learned about this, and clay. That's another one that I discovered and used.
So how did nutrition finally get on your radar, Victor?
So that's a good question. Right? So at this time, I wasn't getting sick, but I still had dental issues, which most people had. I did not get any more fillings, and it was interesting because the colloidal silver had allowed me to kind of keep tooth decay at bay. But I did get cavities that I could hold back, so I didn't get fillings, but they weren't healing. And as I started to do more and more research, I started to come across these websites from these women, mostly women, that were at home taking care of their families. And there were many of them. Of course, everyone knows Sally Fallon Morell, who is the founder and president of the Western Price Foundation. But there are many other women out there that have blogs with information. And so as I was looking at ways to reverse tooth decay, fermented cod liver oil kept popping up. And this product led me to Green Pastures and David Wetzel, who is the owner of this rather small farm in the middle of America. Right. And on his website, I learned so much about vitamin D. He had a tremendous amount of information on his website, and he still, today, he has even more. And so I learned, and also from studying that and learning how to heal teeth, and then I did it. I was actually able to successfully do it. So the dentists were telling me I would have cavities, and then I said, no, I don't want to get a filling. I don't want to do anything. I'm going to try to heal it. And then it would be healed. Mm-hmm. So I experienced the power of real food. Of course, it wasn't just the fermented cod liver oil. It was a lot of other things. And this led me eventually to the Western Price Foundation. So at first, it was the blogs from all these different women, and reading all of the blogs also at Green Pastures and elsewhere. And then I discovered Dr. Weston Price and his book, Nutrition and Physical Degeneration. And for me, I'd have to say that was the Holy Grail, the most profound book that I have ever come across.
Amazing that you place that, so high at the top. I mean, I've heard people identify it as a nutrition Bible before, but the Holy Grail really places it, Victor. So.
Yes, and I don't mean, so I often tell people I don't mean to be offensive or anything when I use this expression, but I really do believe it is that significant. Mm-hmm. And I've read a lot of books and a lot of different practices and philosophies, and there are so many important books out there and so many important scientists. But this one really was the key to health for me. And one of the reasons is that it's so obvious because it connects us to, this very long history of knowledge. And he did such a fascinating job, with the photographs and x-rays. And this was done 100 years ago. And it's really a jewel, So it's very powerful for me to use with other people because you see it, you see the picture of how people had perfect teeth, perfect bone structure, etc. Mm-hmm. So, he ties it all together.
Right. And we can't help but, once we learn this, once we've seen this, and these pictures are so revealing, so telling, and, everywhere I go now, I look at the physical attributes of people, but certainly facial structure and teeth, and you can just see the standard American diets being played out, and I think the mouth is really a portal to the rest of the body. So, with nutrition and physical degeneration being on the books and materials list at Hawthorne and a couple of programs, we feel it's very relevant too. So what did this lead you to Hawthorne? How did you get to Hawthorne, Victor?
Yes, so the turning point was actually a rather sad one. My father had come down with cancer when I was around 50 years old.
Mhm.
And actually, they discovered he had had cancer for a long time. So they discovered it very, very late. And this was an unfortunate thing. So at this point, I was aware of all of these different things in alternative medicine, or if we want to use that expression. And I was aware of Dr. Weston Price's work, and I wanted to help my father, but I
Certainly.
wasn't a doctor. So it was very difficult, and I was very opposed to chemotherapy and other things.
Mhm.
And there was not much I can do, but this event is what led me to Hawthorn University. And I had been looking at education over the years, but honestly, if if I met 100 nutritionists today, I would probably disagree with 95 of them, because most of them are educated on 20th century science, excluding Dr. Price, actually. I mean, it's really 21st century science. It's really these new programs that are coming out of schools like Hawthorne that are providing us with the current knowledge.
Mhm.
So until I found Hawthorne, I was looking at nutritional programs, and I was like, no, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, I don't agree. And then I found Hawthorne, and I was like, oh my God, this is fantastic. It's exactly what I'm looking for. I agree with everything that I see, and it has been fantastic. So not just the programs themselves, but the faculty, the student body, etc. So it's really been a great find for me, and I don't intend to ever stop my education at Hawthorne, because there's a lot of really good programs there. So I intend to just continue indefinitely.
It's wonderful, Victor. You'd be very welcomed back into our doctoral program, and just it's very touching, the story with your father, and it's sadly all too common and increasingly so now. So, coming back in and steeping yourself in some endocrinology and see what you can do, what kind of difference you can make in the world with that too.
Yeah. So I'm going to try. And that's what led me to start Vitagenics also,
Right.
to get some of the knowledge out there. So
okay. So tell us about that. What is Vitagenics and what your intention is with this business?
Right. So Vitagenics is, it's really just a website. It's not a formal business, not an MPO or anything like that. So it's where I try to accumulate a lot of my information. I'm trying to bring people together to inform both healers and people that are suffering from whatever might be ailing them, or for people that just want to stay healthy. Right? I want to get away from the paradigm of managing disease, and instead I want to manage wellness. Right? And so Vitagenics is my portal or my platform for doing that. And I'll work in many different ways to make it happen. Mm-hmm. So the website is there, puts out information, right? And it helps me bring people together. And then the ways I will use the website, so I'll use it for coaching and mentoring, where I could find people. And I actually don't want to get too deep into coaching and mentoring. To be a nutritionist, I guess most people will take the more obvious route of maybe working in a clinic or opening a clinic, and you have clients. But I'm actually trying to avoid that. And while I do some coaching and mentoring, I want to lean more towards retreats and getaways, providing people or directing people towards good food. I'm not producing any food or supplements, although there are a couple of things that I'll talk about here. So kefir is, or kefir. I don't know. How do you like to pronounce it, kefir or kefir?
Both. I say kefir, but it's used both. It's fine.
Yes. So yeah, for me too, I always tell people the same thing, right? So this is something I fell in love with years ago, and I like to educate people about it, try to get them kick-started on it by passing out grains and just showing them how to do it. One of the things I'm big about doing is seminars, and so a seminar on kefir, giving people a chance to get their hands on it and really understand and get educated about it. And a lot of my family is doing kefir now. Mm-hmm. And so I've introduced kefir to many people here in Japan and in the U.S.
So you're making different kinds of kefir, from water to coconut to grain?
I stick with the raw milk kefir. Mm-hmm. So, you can, basically cow's milk, goat's milk, those two are the best. You could throw it into coconut milk once in a while, but it's much, much more powerful using the cow's milk. So this is what I always try to motivate people to stick with. The water kefir is actually a very different type of thing. It's not the same grains, or not the same SCOBY, you might say.
Right.
When we talk about kefir, we use the word, we say grains. We have kefir grains, which is really the starting culture. And if you're doing kombucha, you say SCOBY. It's the starting culture. And so when I was in Costa Rica, actually I was selling kefir. But this is not a goal. This is not really a long-term goal. I'm not going to make a lot of money that way. I don't want to get into any kind of commercial endeavors for producing and selling the kefir. Mm-hmm. It's just something I do along the way to help promote the knowledge and help heal people I'm dealing with, mm-hmm. and help people, incorporate that into their life.
Right.
Very powerful stuff.
Yeah. Well done.
Behind the scenes with Vitagenics, I'm working with a lot of different people, and some of them don't even realize it. So, I for example, I'm always promoting the small farms, right? So if we want to get healthy, we need to get good food. And the best place to get food is from small farms. And so on this page here, I have a bunch of logos up here, but there are so many other farms. I can't fit all the information here. So I'm always trying to find good farms that are farming responsibly, using sustainable or regenerative agriculture, producing truly organic food, whether it is labeled so or not. Sometimes the best food does not have labels because the farmers cannot afford to go through the process of organic certification, right? Yeah. And some of these businesses I work more closely with. In fact, I'll give a shout out to Crossroads Farm, whom I've just come in contact with recently. And it looks like I will be gearing up to work more with them this year, come spring.
They're in New York, aren't they?
Yes, they are. They happen to be the closest organic farm to New York City. And it's a small place, but they're doing a lot of good things. They're not only providing food that they grow there, but they're bringing in other good, healthy local products. Right. So this is another thing, right? We want to eat local. This is much healthier for us. And so this farm is just a great example of what farms can be. Not only providing good food, but they're also providing education.
Yes.
So they have educational programs, and they're working with the schools. And I think this is really a great thing.
So Victor, when you say you work with these farms, what does that really mean when Vitagenics aligns with a farm? What's your relationship, and what are you hoping to achieve?
Right. So in the speaking rather gray, in the long term, when I'm working with a farm, I ideally want to do seminars at a farm if they have the facilities or the venue for such. So if they're that small, if they're not too small. Crossroads, this may be only 4 or 5 acres, but actually we can do seminars there. And this is really good because it helps to bring more people to the farm.
That's right.
Right. So this is one of the reasons why I want to focus on seminars as being one of the primary pillars of my own personal business. Rather than billing clients in a clinic, I would rather work with farms to do seminars in different places. Here in Tokyo, for example, I cannot do that. So what I do out here is I simply find the farms that have the really good food, and I have no formal business relationship with them. but I'm directing people to them where they could find the best milk, the best eggs, etc.
See.
Right. So when I say I'm working with a farm, in some cases the farm may not be aware of it. So, so I mean, it's just something that I'm recommending. And then in other cases, yeah, like such as Crossroads, you might see me doing seminars there this spring.
Well, when you come across a farm that you see value in, and you're speaking about it in your blogs, etc., I'd encourage you to reach out and connect with them and let them know who you are and what you're doing and why you're promoting them and what you think is good about them, and etc. It'll just build a lot of really strong connections for you too. And there's some farms here that I'm thinking of right here in Humboldt County that are doing sustainable, really regenerative farming in such a very beautiful way. And so I'd love you to come to Northern California, and I'll introduce you, and we'll do some farm tours here too and see what you can get happening in Humboldt County, and then you can come and see us at Hawthorn University too.
Yeah, that would be so great. So those kinds of possibilities will exist for me now that I'm going to be relocating back to New York. Japan has actually been my home base for over 25 years. And so this spring I'm going back to New York to work with the farms there. So then I'll be able to possibly go out to California and elsewhere. So it sounds great. Yeah, brilliant. I look forward to that.
Bring your video equipment. I mean, you're doing so much with video. You haven't even mentioned that yet, Victor. But
yes, right. So yeah, maybe really quickly. Right, I do videos that I have not released my public YouTube channel yet, but I'll be doing that this year. So I do videos privately for clients, but I'll be putting out my YouTube channel within the next month or two, actually. So you see here on the screen now, I have my income sources, and it's kind of near-term, short-term, long-term. And as I mentioned, I'm really gearing up. I want my seminars to be a key part of that.
Yes.
The videos will become more important. And I have something here, ESL. I'm not sure if your listeners will be familiar with this. ESL is English as a Second Language. So because I travel, to different countries, I teach English part-time to non-native English speakers. And I use this as an avenue to teach nutrition.
Excellent.
So I use my nutrition and health as the foundation for teaching English.
I love it.
So yeah. So me too. So I intend to continue that. And that's about it. I have here kefir and bone broth, but I do not intend on really making money from those in the long term. As I said, those are kind of incidental. I make them for myself and for people I'm working with.
We'll see if somebody just wasn't want to partner with you sometime and say, let's offer this, But I look forward to this top half of your graph, and thank you for this graph. It's so organized and revealing. But this top half of it is going to, I look forward to your color scheme coming all the way across your graph here the next time we talk, Victor, right?
Yes, thank you very much.
Right up there into the 90 percentile, you bet. Well, you've done so much. You've got plans. Yes, that's where I'm going. Have you faced any challenges?
Yes.
What's that?
Yeah,
for you there?
Absolutely. Well, I guess mostly it's about a paradigm shift, about trying to change the way people think about wellness. Focusing on their health rather than focusing on disease. So I've got some quotes here, treat the patient, not the disease. It's our modern medicine tends to be too focused on managing disease rather than managing health. And so I just focus on trying to keep people strong. A healthy body, a human at its maximum potential will overcome basically anything. Right? I mean, we would not have survived for millions of years. We would not have been able to evolve if we were not strong enough to defeat all these various diseases and ailments and such.
Mhm.
And so the paradigm shift is a big one, and getting people to realize that they can have the power, they do have the power. And so I just wanted to try to empower people. Astroturfing and seeding is a bit of a problem. So, and your listeners may not be familiar with these words. Astroturfing is kind of fake grassroots movement coming from the big pharmaceutical companies and big agricultural companies. We live in the age of information warfare, and this is a reality. And so there's a lot of false information out there, and so we have to constantly keep ourselves educated and try to re-educate our potential clients. And so this is really the biggest challenge. It's changing that paradigm, getting people to see things differently, trying to get away from the status quo.
That's right. It's happening. It's happening, Victor, and you're one of the players now, and will become a significant player in this paradigm shift. And I love it, that you're traverse yourself through 3 very significant and very different territories, and just how much broader of an influence that you can have in your educational outreach. So, bravo.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, thank you. So, yeah, I'm hoping to have more and more of an impact over the course of the future. So, I want to do more collaborations and more just teach, right? So we need to educate everyone. And so I certainly appreciate that Hawthorne exists. And I appreciate you guys giving me this opportunity to get this information out there and get myself out there.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure. But future, where are you going, Victor? What's up? What are you going to pull together for us?
Yeah, so hopefully some book publishings, the YouTube channel, podcasts, those things should be coming soon. Wellness retreats. There is a long-term vision for even help, working with other people to open some holistic health centers around the world. I have a good friend, my good friend, Dr. Milano. She has a chiropractic center. She's been a chiropractor for decades. We know each other since high school, actually. She's one of the people we used to talk about holistic health centers many decades ago, and she went on to be a chiropractor.
Well, Victor, you've said really clearly that you weren't interested in working in a clinic or opening a clinic and
right.
that, but holistic health centers here. So distinguish between holistic health centers and a clinic.
Right, so a holistic health center could be a place where there could still be seminars happening, and there could still be people working like a clinic. So there are always going to be people that want to stay with that paradigm. There are always going to be people that need more than, maybe they're not comfortable with just the idea of coaching and mentoring, but they want to walk into a place and see someone wearing a white coat, right, that will sit down with them and kind of tell them what to do. I don't really want to tell anybody what to do. I want to give them information. I want to empower them. But with a holistic health center, we can provide a lot of different things. And that depends on who you have involved in a holistic health center. And there are a lot of great clinicians out there, right? So I'm not opposed to working with clinicians, right? There are a lot of great people coming out of Hawthorne that go and work in clinics, right?
Well, certainly there are people that are very ill, and getting some directed appropriately, and that might require some lab testing, yes, a very careful and thorough intake. The more entrenched we are in illness, the more challenged we are to see our path out of it to wellness. And certainly from an educational standpoint, I think that you'll serve your communities very, very well. And I'm glad that you're aligned with Dr. Milano, and you will with others that'll be able to bring the medical perspective and the integrative, the holistic medical perspective that's needed that aligns with your principles in your holistic health centers. That's what I see.
Oh, yes. That well said. Better than I could have said it myself. Yeah. I'd like to add to that too. There are tools. There are a lot of tools that people cannot have on their own at home.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to go somewhere. So I'm also a big fan of modern medicine. And I mentioned things like electric medicine and such.
Right.
So there are always new things that are going to be at our disposal, and not all of them are affordable to be owned, on a personal basis. So. Yeah, so health centers and clinics provide a lot. And the lab testing, too, as you mentioned, is so important.
Was there anything that we missed, Victor, in terms of future endeavors that you have on your gurgling list of bubbling brain manifestations that you want to bring about?
I think we covered most of the important things. And as I mentioned, I'm right at the cusp of a YouTube channel coming out, and probably podcasts later on this year.
All right.
Book publishings are probably a bit further off. So I think that's about it. There will be no wellness retreats or holistic health centers this year, although even those things are in discussion with some people, so you never know. But what you see here are 10 things I forgot to talk about.
Well, what I hear, Victor, from you is teach, teach, teach.
Yes.
That's what you have, that's what your passion is, and that's the direction that all of these endeavors, that's what it's all about. So I want to, wish you the best, moving forward. I certainly hope that you'll come back and share your successes and new projects and ideas with us. And yes, as we said from the beginning, we do our best to condense this into a time frame here, but we could have sat easily for 2 hours and talked about what you have and what you're doing and what you hope to do. So let's,
my apologies if I went too long on any of it.
No. I want to, I just want you to let people know where, how they can get in touch with you.
Yes, so the last screen here, there is my site, Vitagenics.net, and you can find me on Facebook or anywhere.
All right.
So you can find me on Facebook under Victor.Cazzetto or at Vitagenics. I'm not very active on Instagram, but I'll get more active.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
So, and you can see my email, Twitter, Skype, Line is an app for people in Asia. I don't think your listeners
I don't think so. No.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Yeah. But thank you for this, and I encourage people to look you up. You're somebody to follow, Victor. There are great things coming, and you're doing great things now. So I appreciate you taking the time and getting up so early for us while over there in Japan and sharing what you're doing. It's really been a pleasure.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate the work that you are doing and the work that Hawthorne University is doing. Thank you.
Thank you. And I just want to say that our next All About Alumni will meet back here on Wednesday, February 2nd, live with Laura Ellers. She's a graduate from our MH&E program. And until then, I wish you, Victor, and everybody listening all the best of health, and take good care.